Thank you, Nina and Ricky. Good evening, everyone. I'm Alma Angeles for NET25 World News. On tonight's headlines. And hope flickers amidst the ruins in Myanmar, where a child and a pregnant woman are among those rescued after Friday's powerful earthquake. And tensions are escalating in the Taiwan Strait as China's military has launched extensive joint military exercises around the island. The Chinese military released a series of provocative propaganda videos accompanying the announcement. One video depicted President Lai as a parasite, a clear escalation in rhetoric. And the news starts now. And hope flickers amidst the ruins in Myanmar, where a child and a pregnant woman are among those rescued after Friday's powerful earthquake. The official death toll, already over 2,000, is feared to be higher, given the junta's history of downplaying disasters. And the tremor's reach extended into Thailand. Here's more.
Rescuers pulled a woman from the wreckage of a hotel in Myanmar days after a massive earthquake in the Southeast Asian country last week that killed at least 2,000 people. China's Xinhua news agency reported that several others were freed from collapsed buildings in Mandalay, the city in central Myanmar near the epicenter of Friday's 7.7 magnitude earthquake. This survivor in Mandalay said that after rescue workers pulled him out of the rubble of his restaurant, he had rented a bulldozer with his own money to try to find the body of one of his workers.
I've been removing the debris on my own. No one has helped me. I have to manage myself to remove the rubble, as my shop was a high building and the wreckage could be dangerous to the neighbors. I have to hire a bulldozer to clear the mess.
In the Thai capital, Bangkok, rescuers pulled out another body from the rubble of an unfinished skyscraper that collapsed in the quake, bringing the death toll from the building collapse to 12, with dozens more still missing. Bangkok's deputy governor said rescuers were urgently trying to locate and save these people, though the chances of survival diminish after the 72-hour mark, which has passed.
Let's just get our hope hanging up. That actually, even though it's past already 72 hours, it doesn't mean that we identify them as dead, but we identify them as lower chance of survival. But that also means we have to speed up, because they are getting more vulnerable and weaker if they're still alive. So the process would be like that.
Thai industry ministry officials said initial tests showed that some steel samples collected from the site of the collapsed building were substandard. The government has launched an investigation into the cause of the collapse, and the Thai Prime Minister visited the site. The United Nations said it was rushing relief supplies to survivors, while several countries have sent rescue teams or pledged financial support. The quake devastation has piled more misery on Myanmar, already in chaos from the civil war that intensified after the elected government of Nobel Peace Prize laureate Aung San Suu Kyi was ousted by the military.
The recent earthquake in Myanmar and Thailand has triggered a swift humanitarian response from ASEAN. In an exclusive interview with CNBC, ASEAN Secretary General Dr. Kao Kim Horn outlined the region's efforts to aid those affected. Dr. Kao Kim Horn emphasized ASEAN's commitment to supporting the affected communities, detailing the immediate actions taken. The ASEAN Coordinating Center for Humanitarian Assistance, or AHA Center, deployed an emergency response team for rapid needs assessment. Individual ASEAN member states have also stepped up providing search and rescue personnel, medical and food supplies, and financial aid. Beyond immediate relief, Dr. Kao Kim Horn addressed the earthquake's broader impact, highlighting concerns for the region's economic growth, financial stability, and supply chain resilience. ASEAN's coordinated response underscores the region's solidarity in the face of natural disasters. Meanwhile, the first group of Filipino humanitarian responders has arrived in Myanmar to assist earthquake victims. Tomorrow, a second contingent will depart to aid more survivors. This team includes 58 personnel from various government agencies. They're the first batch deployed to Myanmar to provide assistance, particularly to Filipinos affected by the powerful 7.7 magnitude earthquake, which has claimed over 2,000 lives. This mission follows President Marcos Jr.'s directive to deliver immediate aid to the country struck by the devastating quake. OCD Undersecretary Ariel Nepomuceno emphasized the importance of regional cooperation.
So ito yung ating paraan upang ipakita natin yung ating pakikipagtulungan sa ating kapitbahay dahil ito ay kasama ng ating sinasabing One ASEAN, One Response. Ito ay tungkulin natin bilang magkakasama sa Association of Southeast Asian Nation. Dalawa yung importante nating gagampanan dyan. Una-una, of course, yung pagtulong doon sa mga maaaring paghahanap doon sa mga maaaring buhay pa na mga naipit doon sa mga gumuhong mga istruktura dyan sa Myanmar. Yan ang importante dahil may panahon pa upang iligtas sila. Pangalawa, galing sa Department of Health, importante yan. Meron silang ipinadala na 32-man team na mga makakatulong para sa medical mission at assistance dito sa Myanmar.
Among those deployed is a medical team ready to assist Filipino earthquake survivors.
Bilang aeromedical evacuation team, handa po tayong mag-assist doon sa mga Pilipino na magre-repatriate. Hindi lang po doon, kundi pati rin po mag-assist doon din po sa mga kababayan natin na kailangan ng tulong medikal.
Harrowing video has emerged from Myanmar capturing the terrifying moments a teenage girl and her family were trapped after Friday's devastating earthquake. This footage, filmed by the teenage girl herself, shows the desperate situation inside the collapsed Sky Villa condo in Mandalay. She, her sister, and their injured grandmother were trapped, surrounded by debris. The video captures the girls' cries for help with faint voices heard from beyond the collapsed walls. They were eventually rescued by emergency teams. Meanwhile, Myanmar's military leader Min Aung Hlaing announced on television that the death toll has now reached 2,719 and is expected to rise above 3,000. Over 4,500 people are injured, hundreds remain missing. Meanwhile, the search continues for 4 Filipinos missing in Myanmar following last week's devastating earthquake. The Philippine Embassy in Yangon reports that rescue teams have yet to locate the 4 individuals. An embassy team arrived in Mandalay on Monday to assess the situation. Mandalay is located a significant distance from Yangon, about a 7-hour drive away. The embassy says there are approximately 170 Filipino teachers in Mandalay. 2 of the missing Filipinos are a married couple who lived in a building that collapsed after the magnitude 7.7 quake. The embassy's team has met with Filipino community leaders in Mandalay to gather information and check on the welfare of the Filipino community. They've also visited the site where the missing Filipinos were last known to be. At this point, the embassy said in a statement, there have not been any confirmed Filipinos who were rescued or retrieved from the site, and operations are still ongoing. A major fire has erupted at a Petronas gas pipeline near Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, leaving dozens injured. Authorities confirm 33 people have been injured in the blaze, with 6 hospitalized. The fire, which broke out on a 500-meter pipeline in Puchong, sent massive flames and thick smoke into the sky, visible for miles. Selangor Fire Department Director 1MD Razali 1 Ismail told local media that operations to extinguish the fire are ongoing. Adding to the urgency, reports indicate people are trapped in nearby residential areas. Rescue efforts are underway in Kampung Kuala Sungai Baru, as confirmed by the Selangor Disaster Management Committee. Petronas, the state energy firm operating the pipeline, has stated that the pipeline has been isolated. Firefighters are now working to contain the blaze, which has already impacted homes in the vicinity. The Selangor Fire Department is still investigating the full extent of the damage to the residential area, and the cause of the pipeline leak and subsequent fire remains under investigation. and tensions are escalating in the Taiwan Strait as China's military has launched extensive joint military exercises around the island. Beijing announced the drills involving its army, navy, and rocket forces are a stern warning against Taiwanese independence. The Chinese military released a series of provocative propaganda videos accompanying the announcement. One video depicted President Lai as a parasite, a clear escalation in rhetoric. Other footage showed warships and fighter jets with visuals suggesting Taipei as a target. China views Taiwan as its own territory and has never ruled out using force to achieve unification. These exercises follow President Lai's recent comments, where he referred to Beijing as a foreign hostile force. Analysts say the drills are intended to intimidate Taiwan and demonstrate China's resolve. Meanwhile, as China's military drills continue around Taiwan, Taipei is responding with strong condemnation.
China, as one of the members in this region, has recently continued to conduct military provocations in the international waters of various regions around the Taiwan Strait and the Indo-Pacific region, including New Zealand, Australia, Japan, South Korea, Philippines, and South China Sea, disrupting regional peace and stability, and unilaterally escalating the regional security situation. It openly challenges the international order and is widely recognized by the international community as a troublemaker. The presidential office sternly condemns this. President Lai has instructed the national security and defense units to make preparations and deal with the situation. We have a full grasp of the related situation. In the face of external threats, our government will continue to defend the democratic and free constitutional system. We have the confidence and the capability to defend our sovereignty rights, protecting the safety of the people, and maintaining social stability.
Taiwan's Defense Minister Wellington Koo says the island's armed forces are closely monitoring the situation, including the movements of China's Shandong aircraft carrier group.
Today, of course, they announced the joint naval and air exercises this morning, but we will also pay attention to their related developments. Not just the one that is currently underway, but also the start of the joint combat readiness military training. Of course, we will pay attention to the movement of Shandong carrier group off Taiwan's southeastern coast and also the movement on land.
另外也陆地上的动态我们都会注意不过我想在这边也要
However, I'd like to point out that actions like these show it is them who are damaging the peace and stability of the region. It clearly shows China is obviously the troublemaker. There have been many reports linked to corruption within the People's Liberation Army. I think they should properly resolve these internal problems instead of destroying peace and stability in the region.
解决这些他们内部上面的问题那不是在这个区域制造这个对于现状和平现状这样子的一种破坏的一种举动这样子。
Taiwan is on high alert with its military actively tracking China's movements. The island's leaders are condemning the exercises as destabilizing and provocative.
More drills can be expected this year because in Taiwan we are having a huge political standoff and also very polarized politics in domestic politics right now. So the ruling party, if they want to use the chance to kind of trigger the event to their favor, it's actually a very good tactic to provoke China. China will respond and that will make Taiwan a victim. Under this kind of pressure. So this is actually very helpful for the ruling party to gain votes if they want to push for the so-called Uncle movement here in Taiwan. I think it's for both, not just for their audience, it's also for international audience as well, especially to the US, because US Secretary of Defense just left this area. So this is a very direct message to him. You are going to visit here just for a period of time, but we are going to be here like forever. So this is a strong message to the Secretary of Defense of the U.S. Otherwise, if you don't take these kind of measures, and then you just let the U.S. politicians to talk about their rhetoric against China, then this is not a welcoming, signal for China's domestic audience as well. So the Chinese Communist Party, they have to manage this kind of crisis at home.
In Washington, Donald Trump is generating controversy after suggesting he might find ways to serve a third term as president.
I don't want to talk about a third term now because no matter how you look at it, we got a long time to go. We have a long time. We have almost 4 years to go. And that's a long time. But despite that, so many people are saying, you've got to run again. They love the job we do. Most importantly, they love the job we do.
During a recent NBC interview, Trump appeared serious when discussing potential ways around the constitutional two-term limit. He said, "No, I'm not joking, but it is far too early to think about it. There are methods which you could do it, as you know," he said, declining to elaborate on specific methods. Trump's comments raised questions about the 22nd Amendment of the U.S. Constitution, which explicitly limits presidents to 2 terms. The 2-term tradition began with George Washington, who set a precedent in 1796. This self-imposed limit was largely observed for over a century, until Franklin D. Roosevelt. Roosevelt, serving during the Great Depression and World War II, broke this tradition, winning a 3rd and then a 4th term. His death in office led to the 22nd Amendment's ratification in 1951, formalizing the 2-term limit. Now, the White House responded, stating that Trump is focused on his current term. A spokesperson stated, "Americans overwhelmingly approve and support President Trump and his First America policies. President Trump is focused on undoing all the hurt done by the Biden administration and making America great again." Trump also discussed the possibility of running as vice president alongside J.D. Vance, adding, "There are others too." The historical context of the 2-term limits adds weight to the current debate. The question remains, are Trump's remarks serious or just political rhetoric? The suggestion of circumventing term limits has reignited debate over the constitutional boundaries of presidential power. And the news continues here on NET25. We'll be right back. Across the globe, Filipino communities came together to celebrate the 80th birthday of former President Rodrigo Duterte. From Israel to Ireland and Greece, overseas workers showed their support and affection for the former leader. Here in Tel Aviv's park, Hayarkon Sportec, hundreds of Filipino workers gathered to mark the former president's milestone birthday. The atmosphere is festive, with music, food, and expressions of gratitude for Duterte's past leadership. Meanwhile, in Athens, Greece, a group of Filipino workers gathered in Eleftherias Park. Their celebration took on a more political tone, with chants calling for Duterte's return to the Philippines. In Kildare, Ireland, a global tribute was also held, with organizers expressing their solidarity with Duterte and highlighting his international impact.
Worldwide event also happened in different countries, the Philippines, and here most Filipinos in Ireland are united here, different groups to celebrate his birthday. He is the most beloved president of all time in the Philippines. It's wrong. The International Criminal Court, they don't have jurisdiction in the Philippines. If Rodrigo Duterte committed crime, he should be judged by a Filipino court, by a Filipino judge in the Philippines, not in any other countries.
Event all about, so we're celebrating first and foremost our beloved PRRD's 80th birthday. This is the first birthday that he has that is celebrated outside, because he's always been celebrating it in the city, Davao City, and with the children, the cancer patients' children, and in the House of Hope, where those are children that are being orphaned, and victims of abuse. He's always been celebrating that ever since No Fail. So we celebrate his legacy of his selfless leadership and what he has done for the Filipinos here and of course inside the Philippines and abroad, especially to us migrant workers, that he has done so much for us during his term and beyond. Like even up until now, as you can see, everybody is rallying behind him all over the Philippines, all over the world, wherever the Filipinos are. You can see us singing and dancing and having merriment at the moment, but deep inside we are enraged, we are disappointed, we are absolutely sort of depressed really of what's happening in our country. You know, there is a lot of injustice that is happening. You know, you can see, you know, the government of how they had kidnapped our president on the manner on which he was being brought to the ICC.
A potential volcanic eruption is looming near Iceland's capital as a significant magma outbreak has been detected underground. Take a look.
This eruption has been, we've been waiting for it for a while. We knew that the pressure was sufficient to drive an eruption to the surface. What happened this morning was that a strong earthquake swarm started at 6:45 in the morning. And through the first few hours, it was all the magma was moving below the surface. So it was making a new dike intrusion, similar to what we saw in the very initial phase back in November 23. But then at about 9:45 in the morning here, local time, the eruption started. It's very close to Grindavik, but it's a very it's a much smaller eruption than what we had previously. So it's close to town, but it's a more calm eruption than the previous few we've seen. The problem is a part of the fracture actually opened up inside the barriers protecting the town. And as this is very early on in the eruption, we do not know if this is the final length of the eruptive fracture. So we're still following the development of this. Grindavik was, of course, evacuated immediately when the dike starts to propagate. So when we see the initial seismicity, and also the Blue Lagoon, people staying in that area, all were evacuated quite rapidly. Now we're just following the development. So Grindavik is in danger of having lava flows entering the inhabited area. Currently, the lava flows are north of town, but as they are erupting on a small fissure segment that's within the lava barriers, there's a risk that this can actually progress into some of the developments in Grindavik. So that's the situation as we're following now. Of course, it really depends on how long this eruption continues and if the fracture within the barriers will continue to be active and even may extend in area.
And finally, after a 9-month odyssey aboard the International Space Station, NASA astronauts Butch Wilmore and Suni Williams have returned to Earth, and their mission extended dramatically by technical issues with Boeing Starliner spacecraft. Take a look.
That is a question that I cannot answer in a couple of comments, but I'll start with me. There were some issues, of course, that happened with Starliner. There were some issues, of course, that happened that prevented us from returning on Starliner. And I'll start with me. There were questions that I, as the commander of the spacecraft, that I should have asked, and I did not. At the time, I didn't know I needed to. And maybe you could call that hindsight, but I'll start and point the finger and I'll blame me. I could have asked some questions, and the answers to those questions could have turned the tide. So blame, that's a term, I don't like that term, but certainly there's responsibility throughout all the programs, and certainly you can start with me. Responsibility with Boeing? Yes. Responsibility with NASA? Yes. All the way up and down the chain. We all are responsible. We all own this.
Wilmore says they're taking ownership of the mission's challenges and they plan to meet with Boeing leadership on Wednesday.
I mean, we are scheduled on Wednesday to meet with Boeing leadership, the program managers, senior chief engineers, to discuss some of these issues. They want to come together with us, Sonny and myself, because we lived through this with them, and get on board with what the future looks like. And having flight crew with background in test and acquisition involved in the processes going forward to make sure that we're dotting every I and crossing every T. But still, that doesn't mean that you're guaranteed success in anything. Like we've said many times, this is a tough business.
The extended mission drew global attention and even political commentary. But for the crew, the focus remained on the job.
When we're up there operating in space, you don't feel the politics, you don't feel any of that. It's focused strictly on mission.
With their return, Williams and Wilmore expressed gratitude and emphasized the importance of learning from the mission's challenges, especially as NASA prepares for future Moon and Mars missions.
It's, again, an honor that actually people were paying attention. And I'm very thankful that people are paying attention. And, you know, sometimes good news, bad news, it's just news, and it's good for space exploration, and that's what we're all about.
And what were the first things on Suni Williams' mind upon her return?
Oh, yeah, I wanted to hug my husband and hug my dogs. And I'll say that in that order. But maybe not. No, I'm just joking. But, of course, food, something that's just like for home for me, like something that is very, reminds you of home. And my father was a vegetarian, so I had a good grilled cheese sandwich when I got home.
A reminder of the human element in space exploration and the determination to keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible. And with that, we end tonight's broadcast. For everyone here on NET25, I'm Alma Angeles. Thank you for joining us. Good night.